Hello everyone, this is Seher from dentabest.com. So today we are going to do radiology review, and let us start with table of contents first. So we are going to discuss radiation physics, biology, health physics, X-ray film screens and grids, projection geometry, processing, digital imaging, normal radiographic anatomy, radiographic appearance of caries, perio disease, errors, and different types of radiographic views. Let's see how the X-ray tube is going to work. So we have the cathode here. That's a negatively charged electrode. This is the anode. So cathode is made up of tungsten filament. So when the current flows through the tungsten filament, it's going to produce heat, and heat is going to generate the electrons. Now these electrons which are negatively charged, they will be attracted toward positively charged anode. Anode is made up of tungsten target on which you have a small focal spot on which the electrons are going to strike and the X-rays are going to be produced. Now this X-ray tube is inside a glass envelope which is having the oil circulating inside that is going to absorb the heat. You have vacuum inside, no air, so that there is no fire because heat and air can combine and make combustion. Then we have the focusing cup that is enclosing your cathode or tungsten filament, so the electrons can travel in a straight direction. And you can see this is the tube window out of which the X-rays they are coming out. Now the energy sources are potential between the cathode and the anode, and also that's a kVp potential, and the second is on and off switch for the X-ray, the current switch. Next page now, related to intensity of the X-ray beam. That's the total energy of the beam equal to number of X-ray photon times energy of each photon per unit area of exposure. Now, inverse square law is what the intensity of the X-ray beam follows at a given point. That is I equals to 1 over d squared. That means intensity is inversely proportional to square of distance. Now, there are three ways by which the X-rays they can interact with matter. One is coherent scattering, two is photoelectric absorption, and three is Compton scattering. So coherent scattering occurs when a low energy photon passes near an outer electron and the photon ceases to exist. An excited electron returns back to the ground state, generating another photon with the same energy as the incident beam. Now photoelectric absorption occurs when a photon collides with a bound electron, which is ejected from its shell, but no new photon is generated here because the incident photon gives all of its energy to that bound electron, and that photon will cease to exist. That's why it's like an absorption. While Compton scattering will occur when a photon interacts with an outer orbital electron which recoils from the impact. An incident photon will also exist but scatter in a new direction with a lower energy because some energy it has given to that outer orbital electron. Now we can see some of the properties here, like the kilovoltage potential, the milliampere current. So kilovoltage potential is a unit measurement of the electric potential, that how the fast electron is moving. So the kVp potential that we have will determine the quality of the X-ray beam. Higher the kVp, faster the electrons are going to travel, higher will be the energy of your X-ray beam. Higher energy will be more penetrating, less absorbing with a lower wavelength, while milliampere will determine the quantity of the X-ray produced or quantity of electrons generated. Definitely when you're flowing more current, hotter the filament and more other electrons being produced. Now these are some of the definitions of dosimetry. You can go through it. What is exposure, adsorbed dose, effective dose, equivalent dose that is measured by sievert or REM dose. Density, so you can see here this is the light radiograph and this is the dark radiograph. So lighter the radiograph means low density. Low density means low kVp, low exposure, low milliampere current, or you are giving less developer time or less developer temperature. That can lead to light radiograph. Now this is the dense, D for dense, D for dark radiograph. When you have high kVp, high exposure time, high milliampere current, or you're putting in developer for a longer time or higher developer temperature, they can all lead to dark radiograph. So the contrast, high contrast and low contrast. Now one thing you should know that in dentistry, what kind of contrast we want. We want low contrast or high contrast. See, low contrast is produced at high kVp. Having low contrast means there is less contrast, means you have more shades of gray. But high contrast is black and white. You don't want black and white radiograph. You want shades of gray so that you can differentiate between different structure. So in dentistry, we want low contrast but a longer scale of contrast. I hope you understand that. And KVP is the important factor and the only factor that mainly affects the contrast. Now we can see some of the phases of radiation damage here. The latent period, the period of cell injury. So latent period will start between radiation exposure and the onset of symptoms. The period of cell injury may be the cell death, change in cell function, abnormal mitosis. And if your radiation are low level, some of the cells can recover, but some of the cells will be dead. Now, effect of radiation is not like drugs. So when you take the drug, after a few hours, it eliminates from the body. No. The effect of radiations are additive or they're cumulative. They keep on adding up in your body. They keep on accumulating up in your tissues. That is called as the additive effect of the radiation. Now, you can see here, we have two types of effects of radiation, D for deterministic, D for dose-dependent effect, and stochastic effect, which are not dose-dependent, but the probability of them happening is dependent upon the dose. For example, resulting from damage to DNA are the stochastic effect. Deterministic effect, for example, giving radiation dose. More the radiation dose, more will be the damage of cells, like in oral cancer. So that is also important. Now we can see here how the toxicity scale, how the mucositis, that's the effect of radiation on the oral mucous membrane. What are different grades? Grade 1, you can see soreness erythema. Grade 2, see ulcers have started. Grade 3, ulcer with extensive erythema. This is the time when patient is difficulty swallowing the food. And then mucositis to the extent that alimentation is not possible at all. That means he cannot drink or eat anything properly because of the mouth is being sore. Now you can see here the central ray, that's the imaginary line that runs directly through the cone. The slob rule we already know, same of lingual, opposite of buccal. So when you shift the X-ray cone mesially or distally, if the canal also appear to shift in the same direction, that means present lingual. But if you shift the X-ray cone on mesially or distally, but the canal appears to shift in the opposite direction, that means it is present buccal. Now this slob rule not only for horizontal, you can also apply it for vertical angulation, like when you move your X-ray cone up or down, if the canal also shift up or down, so it will be lingual. If you shift your X-ray cone up and the canal appears to shift down, that means present on the opposite side, buccal side. Now we can see the positive and the negative angulations that are being taken. So in the positive angulation, definitely you have the tube head towards the floor, while negative angulation when it is directed towards the ceiling. So negative angulation is given for the mandibular teeth and positive is for maxillary teeth. So what are different ways by which you can improve the image sharpness? Using as small as focal spot as possible. Smaller the size of focal spot, sharper is the image, but that is not under your control because that's a part of your X-ray tube. Increase distance between focal spot and object. That will also improve the sharpness. And minimize the distance between the object. So as the object and film are closer to each other, sharpness will be better. Now you can see the eggshell effect. Cortical borders are more opaque than the contents because of longer photon path through the edge of the bone. That is called as the eggshell effect. Now we can see some of the radiographic appearance of caries here. So we can see the proximal surface caries, and they look like a classic triangle with a broad base at the two surface and their apex is towards the DJ. And the dentine triangle is broader base than enamel triangle and progresses toward the pulp in direction of dentinal tubules, and they are present just gingival to contact. Then you can see the occlusal surface caries seen in the children and adolescent, and classically it looked like a broad base radiolucent zone into dentine with little or no changes in enamel. Then we can see buccal lingual surface caries. They are large, they become elliptical, semilunar, and the root surface caries, the old age caries. Detected by absence of intact root surface, you see softening and cavitation there, but don't confuse the root surface caries with the cervical burnout. Cervical burnout is a normal radiographic phenomena that is seen on the radiograph of all the teeth proximally in the CJ area. This usually happens because of changes of angulation between the alveolar crest and enamel at the CJ. So you have more X-rays passing through it, and that will create the burnout root caries appearance. So how you are going to distinguish between the burnout and the root caries? You are going to change the angulation. The burnout is going to disappear, but the root caries are going to be still there. Now these are different types of X-ray view. Like this one is your submental vortex view. The occlusal plane planed with the emulsion facing chin and central ray is placed perpendicular to the film. So this is also important because we should know that in this, what are the different indications. In submental vortex view, occlusal film is placed on the occlusal plane with emulsion facing the chin and the central ray is placed perpendicular to the film. So this submental vortex view is going to provide information on zygoma, zygomatic arches and the mandible. There is one view called a jug handle view. It's a modification of the submental vortex where exposure reduced to third so the zygomatic bones stand out to view zygomatic fracture. Now this is the Waters view, as we can see, mainly for the sinus, paranasal sinuses, when the patient placed facing forward to the film and the chin is angled superiorly against the film. The central ray is directed perpendicular to the film. The third view is the Townes view, where the central ray is directed 30 degrees superior from the Frankfurt plane with the film behind the patient's head. And offers view of condyle head and the ramus. And then you have the reverse Townes view too. It's also for condyle neck and the fractures. And then last one here we have the lateral head radiograph. So film is placed to the side of the patient head while central ray placed on the opposite side and directed perpendicular. We know the lateral self radiographs are used mainly in the orthodontics to analyze the growth, craniofacial growth there. Now in this slide, we can see the two types of X-ray techniques, like the bisecting angle technique and the paralleling technique. So in paralleling technique, the film is placed very parallel to the axis of the tooth. So tooth and film are parallel to each other, and the X-rays, they are perpendicular to the both to the tooth and to the film. This is the one that is preferred for your X-rays, and you must use a film holding device or cone positioning technique for that. However, only thing in paralleling technique, although chances of distortion, magnification are less, but having a long cone will have a longer exposure time. Now, bisecting angle technique, the tooth and the film are not parallel to each other. Film and tooth are making an angle. Now imagine a bisector that is bisecting this angle. So X-rays are perpendicular to this bisector, not to the tooth or not to the film. In this technique, we are using a shorter cone, 8 inches distance between the target and the film. Chance of distortion, magnification are definitely higher, but because of the short cone, exposure time is less. So this is the main advantage of bisecting angle technique. Hi my dear student who are preparing for IMD ADAT or Part 2 exam. Thanks so much for watching this review video of the subject. If you really liked it, please buy the full version by clicking on the link given in the description. With the purchase of every video, you will be getting free live assessment and evaluations on the subject as well. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Dentabest channel now to get the latest updates on the smart videos. If you have any questions, please comment me in the box below. I, Dr. Seher from Dentabest, wishes you all the best for exam and thanks again for watching.